Thank you, Vincent. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this workshop, where we're going to look at what else can you do with your ITIL 4 certification. If it's done, the assumption is that you're all here, you have done some sort of ITIL 4 certification, what's next? And then what's new that is coming to us, being informed by PeopleCert itself. So this is our agenda for the next 2 hours. We'll start with a little bit introduction about MindMagine, who we are. We'll look at the ITIL 4 certification renewal. Okay, as Vincent has mentioned, everyone's just been informed by PeopleCert that the certification that we have for ITIL 4 is no longer valid for life. There is now a validity associated with it. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about what you're going to need to do in order to renew your cert. Then we'll look at the new practice certifications that has just been announced. We also look at the existing managing professional courses and what they are if you're interested to advance yourselves. We also look at other IT service management options. Okay? Because if you find that ITIL is too rigid as it is, what other service management options are there? Then we look at the benefits of certification before we go into question and answers now. Even though we left the question and answers at the end, but we want this to be a very interactive session because it's not a presentation or a seminar. If you have any questions, put out your hands and basically you can ask. We will try to respond, especially for those who are here on site, face to face. If you have any questions, let us know. Okay, just put out your hands and we'll try to address it, either Sean or myself. Oops, this doesn't work. This okay. Okay, a little bit about MindMagine. So MindMagine, we used to be known as Quinn. Some of you may remember as Quinn. We, effective November last year, we rebranded ourselves MindMagine. Okay, in a sense that we acknowledge that a lot of organizations are going through changes and transformation. So for us, it's the same thing. Being in the consulting line and training line, every organization is different. Every organization has different challenges, especially if you look at today, the kind of frameworks and standards that we try to adopt. It's challenging. So we came up with, we as MindMagine also decided to transform ourselves in terms of from a cognitive perspective to being tailoring and coming up with products and services that would suit your organization's needs. That's a transformation that we essentially have gone through. So we are actually not new. If you know our history, Quinn, we've been around since 2001. Okay? And we've grown throughout the years with originated from Netherlands, and then the Malaysian office we set up in 2001 until what we are here today. Okay, so our portfolio has also grown tremendously in line with the changes that organizations have experienced in the different industries. So our focus now is on transformation, especially we heard the word terms, digital transformation, cultural transformation. Okay, we've looked at integration and governance. Specifically, governance also is a new term that is a buzzword today. And optimization and innovation. So these are kind of new things. It's all about new things, new ways of working that we want to focus on. So some of our training certifications that we do, ITIL is one of them. Besides that, we have Prince, COVID, governance, and some of our clients. Okay. All right, so let's look at the framework first. ITIL 4, or just ITIL in a sense. You may have seen this as part of our foundation courses, but ITIL as a framework itself is not new. It's been around for a very long time. Okay, first established in the late 1980s with the publication of the first ITIL book. Okay, focusing on managing the infrastructure for IT organizations. Over the years, it has transformed. We are today the fourth iteration. We are in the fourth iteration of ITIL. So we moved from service and support, became in version 2, focusing on processes, which actually today are still very worthwhile for the organizations. And then we came up with the life cycle approach in ITIL version 3. And in ITIL 4, we decided that, okay, life cycle was good, processes were good, but guess what? They became too rigid. Specifically, when Lean, Agile, and DevOps started to appear in organizations, the framework became too rigid. And that's where they needed to evolve into what it is today, ITIL 4. Okay? So ITIL 4 was first launched in 2019, but it is still changing. It is still changing. Axelos, who are the owners of the framework itself, acknowledge that due to the new ways of working with digital transformation and Lean and Agile and DevOps, and I'm not too sure what's going to come next, the certification and how we implement and manage services has changed, has to be evolved. That's where we are today in 2023, where we will see later that they have released new certifications. And finally, they have also confirmed what the ITIL expert designation is going to require. Okay? They thought about it during 2019, but only recently they just finally confirmed what the requirements are going to be. So it's been a change for us throughout these years. Yeah, the framework has evolved, and we need to, because it's the ecosystem that we are in. Even in your organization, there's tremendous changes that's happening. But the question is, how do we adopt and adapt accordingly? Yeah, that's what has taken place. Yeah. All right, very important. I think this is key on everyone's mind. What happened to my ITIL certification? So earlier this year, Axelos informed the community that your ITIL 4 certification is no longer valid for life. Okay? It has to be renewed. So any certification you get, there is a 3-year validity to that particular certification, after which it is considered expired. So the next question then is, okay, if I don't want to expire it, what do I need to do? How can I renew it? So these are the 3 options that you have. First, if you are certified before 30th of June, you actually have until July to renew your certificate. Okay, regardless of when you take it. So I do not know when you took your last ITIL certification, but you have until 1st July to renew. Okay. Now, if you were certified after June 2020, it's valid for 3 years. Okay, which is almost going to expire also. And so in a way, all certificates will be expired by middle of this year. Think about it. Okay. Now, candidates that choose not to renew your certificate will still be included in the successful candidate register, but they will put a note there that you're not aligned with current certification requirements. Okay. That's essentially what will happen. Plus, if you have more than one certificate, you've done a foundation and you've done one of the advanced courses, regardless of when you took the advanced courses, the renewal will always follow your last exam date. So if I took a foundation in 2020 and I took another advanced course in 2022, my certificate will have, all my certificates will expire 3 years after 2022, that is in 2025. Including whatever I took in 2020. So it's followed. So you have one renewal date for all your certifications, and based on the last exam date. Okay. So this is the new announcement that they've come in terms of renewal requirements. Okay, so how do you renew? 3 options. 1, retake the same exam. This will probably be applicable if you only have 1 certificate, like your foundation. Okay, you can just retake that before your certification expiry date. Okay. Option 2, you take further courses and certifications within the same suite, in this case ITIL. You can take any other ITIL exam after your foundation. You can do one of the exam, the advanced courses within the 3 years, and automatically your foundation gets renewed, right? Because it's the last exam day, and it will follow your new exam. So before 3 years, if you just take another exam, it's supposed to follow suit. So you don't have to worry about renewing your old exams. They're considered renewed every time you take a new exam. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Third option, they have also come up with CDP points, continual development points. And the requirement is you need 20 CDP points each year, divided into 3 categories: professional, experience, professional education, and community effort. Okay, those who are familiar with like PMP, you have your PDUs kind of thing, very similar in that perspective. Okay, so 20 points per year for 3 consecutive years. That's a catch. In order to claim your CDP points, you have to subscribe to My XLOS, My ITIL. Okay, which costs, ouch, $122 a year. We have to pay 3 years. May not be a good option. I'd rather spend the money on an exam, right? Rather than go this way, because it's just too expensive. It doesn't make sense. Okay. So hopefully, we are hoping with feedback from XLOS may change it. But currently, third option may not be a viable one for us. What could be maybe the first or the second? Yeah. The one that really brings value would probably be the second option, just to continue to see what other ITIL certifications would be relevant for you to renew them. Okay, but that's the current status as of today. Any questions? Yeah.
Gentlemen, I would like to know that because CPD on many engineering field and many field they all implement it, that require the attendees to attend certain kind of academic activity or exposure to ITIL. So how this is carried out? Because you pay aside this fee.
Yep.
So what else that must be do? Since they open up online seminar or on-location seminar, you have to go for it?
Yes, they have not released much details about it because they've just put it up. They are specific activities you can do in each of that particular area. Okay, you need the subscription because you have to go in and basically claim your points like you do with Project Manage PMP, where you just enter your PDUs every time you play it. Same concept. Okay, whether they will ask for evidence of your training, we're not sure yet. But it's the same concept. Essentially, you key in the details yourself. That means you manage your own CPD points every year. There are a little bit more details. For example, in professional experience or professional, I think it's professional, you have to have a minimum of 10 a year from that perspective. And then the other 2 you can divide between the other areas. But it's a consideration because it's $122 a year for subscription. So you have to times 3 years. You can't just do it 1 year. So it's times 3. So if you think about it, maybe an advanced course may be more worthwhile. So hold that thought, because along with this, what XLOS that people said have done, they have released some new courses. So we'll look at the options now. Yes.
Then after that, you renew your certification already, then you are subjected to another 3 years.
Yes. So basically every year you pay 122, you claim 20, and then the next year you pay 122, you claim 20. No value. Do this. You get the 3 years plus you get the certification plus you get the knowledge. If they took this away, I see value now. Right. But for us, Malaysians, $120 is a lot of money, you know. Yeah, it's times 3. Okay. I might just sit for a course doing HRDC claim and it would cost me less. Plus, I get a new certificate that's going to be valid for another 3 years because everything I do automatically gets renewed. Okay. That would be the better option. Okay. All right. So this is the current ITIL 4 certification. A lot of us are very familiar with it. You've probably done your foundation and you have the advanced courses that you see here, the advanced courses, yeah. We divided them into the managing professional designation and the ITIL strategic leader. So altogether, there are 5 different options of advanced courses that you can do. We will go into detail each of these later. Okay, I'll tell you what the details are. Right. New practice certifications. So that was previous. This is what people said have just released officially this month. Okay. The managing professional and strategic leader still stays there, but they have added the practice managers. And it makes sense because this had always been a gap that we felt that ITIL as a framework still, in a way, was not there. We never talked about processes. If you notice, if you've done your foundation, we talked about all the different components that make up the framework, but what was missing was what we were doing, which is the process itself. Finally, they said, okay, we'll also train the processes. And this is where the practice manager has come up. So the practice manager has 3 combination courses. They call that monitor, support and fulfill, plan and implement, collaborate and assure and improve. I'll talk about this in more detail in the next slide. This leads to the ITIL practice manager designation. And finally, they have decided what it takes to achieve ITIL master. All 3, 1, 2, 3. You need to achieve your strategic leader by taking digital and IT strategy, direct plan and improve. You need to attain your managing professional by doing high velocity, drive stakeholder, create, deliver, and support. And finally, by also achieving your ITIL practice manager by doing all 3 combined. So once you are known as an ITIL practice manager and a managed professional and a strategic leader, they will give you the ITIL master. Okay, although they announced it in the very beginning, but now is when they finally confirmed it. Now, besides these, they have also come up with extension modules, and there are 4 extension modules there, not related to any of the practice managers, specifically because they focus on areas that may be of interest to you. Okay? And these 4 extension modules includes cloud services, managing cloud services, sustainability in digital and IT, okay? Very much related to UN's sustainability goals. Business relationship management, IT asset management. 2 other practices that I think from the community feedback, people want more experience on. Okay? So they've separated those 2 practices into specific courses itself. It needs 3 days also for ITEM and BRM. Okay? So those are the extension modules. So if you look at this, not too bad, like in the sense that there are some options that we can do after our foundation. There are a lot more options, okay, that you can do. Okay, any questions here? Right. Just to give you an idea of the practice manager one. So the practice managers is looking at individual practices itself. And I'll go into detail what those individual practices are. But they've also combined the practices into 3 different groups: monitor, support, and fulfill, which has 5 practices: service desk, incident, problem, request, monitoring, event management. Plan, implement, and control includes change enablement, release, configuration, deployment, IT asset. Collaborate, assure, and improve is continue to improve, service level, relationship, security, and supply. So it's 3 groups. Now, they've also extended that option. If you do not want to take groups of these practices, they are also available individually. Okay? Individually, it is 1 day with an exam, 20 questions, 30 minutes. Still multiple choice like A, B, C, D. But it's a 1 day because we will only focus on that one practice. Maybe a practice that is relevant for your job role and responsibility, which makes sense. Okay. Otherwise, if you are in operations, for example, this suite is what will be relevant for you because this is our BAU activities. That's what you would do on a BAU day. You manage incidents, you manage requests, you manage problems. Okay. You do monitoring, and they're all related to ops. Then you might think, hey, okay, this makes sense. Okay. Otherwise, if you're in change, release, deployment, that's the other suite. Or from a planning perspective, service level management, relationship management, supplier management, that's your suite. So you have 3 different suites of options for practices that you want to take. Okay. The first suite, monitor, support, and fulfill, will be released, I think, next month. Sometime next month. Plan, implement, and control, collaborate, second half this year. After that, and that's what XLOS do. Okay, so if you are taking just one, you automatically renew all your other certificates. That's the good thing, right? Okay, so you 1 year, 1 off. That will be an option. Okay, but we'll discuss about that. Does it really make sense? Okay. But this is the new practice manager. Now, what are you going to be learning in each of these courses? The details. The process. Yes. We never had it before. We never talked about it in foundation, nor did we actually talk about it in advanced courses. But this is what we do every day. How to manage incidents. Yeah. And they have included capabilities, that means maturity, how you improve yourselves. So it's good to have a process in place, incident management, problem management, change management, but it's equally important for us to be able to determine how to improve it. Improve it in a sense, how efficient and effective are the processes first. That's the important part also. That's what we need to know. But at least now we talk about the activities of the process. Because we never talked about it before. So that's the change that has happened. Okay. Take note, XLOS is still working on all these changes. They will probably come up with maybe additional suites because they're still missing processes, practices from the suites that we see. So don't be surprised that additional combinations will still come in. Yeah, because we're still missing things like organizing change management, business requirements, service validation and testing. Chances are XLOS may combine them in the future. Okay, they haven't said anything, but I kind of feel that they're going that way. Okay, so what we're saying, the certification for ITIL is going to continue to grow, giving you a lot more opportunities out there to participate in certifications that will be relevant for you. But we'll discuss that later. All right, extension modules.
Hey,
Get shot at us.
so hey, must remember to stand on the X because for the camera to see me, yeah. Okay, try not to move too much. Okay, so also on top of what the current core modules ITIL has introduced, they are also introducing 4 extension modules if you want to take, right? Of course, this also adds to, and I believe this also when you take the certificates also adds to your current certificate. Yeah, the focus is a bit more different than the core service management. They are focusing on acquiring, managing cloud services, sustainability, business relationship management, and IT asset management. Yeah. So what do these modules talk about? Let's talk about the acquiring and managing cloud services. Basically, more and more technology, more and more services is moving to the cloud, right? And ITIL, through a lot of inquiries, realized that one of the main questions is how do we manage services if it goes to the cloud? It's very different than on-premise. Okay, so they have come out with a module that looks at giving you guidance of how to engage with cloud vendors, how to then decide policies on clouds, how do you then optimize cloud services, and of course, how do you ensure that customer focus is still achieved through cloud delivery, right? So the course is I believe it's a 3-day course, right? That's focusing primarily on cloud. Of course, at the end of it, there's an exam as well. Okay. The second thing that people do ask Excelos a lot about is, okay, so nowadays, based on the UN's sustainability, a lot of organizations are adopting something called ESG, right? Sustainability is one of them, right? And of course, if you look at UN's requirements for sustainability, there are about 30 of the things that you need to achieve. And again, how does IT services going to be delivered while you maintain sustainability? So there's a course called Sustainability in Digital and IT module for those who are looking to understand the IT role of digital services and the impact on the environment, right? We do hear a lot because nowadays, even if you look at data centers, right, they are moving from traditional data centers with air conditioning and stuff like that to wind turbines and inbuilt, right? Like Google's data center is actually sucking all the air from the environment and pushing it so there's no air conditioning, right? Latest I heard was I think it was Amazon. They are building data centers under the sea. Yeah, again, using natural to cool down, right? Recently, China announced they are building data centers in space. Yeah, I kid you not. Again, they are trying to reduce the environmental effect. That's why they're moving to all these places, right? So yeah, so the course will help you understand how to use ITIL guiding principles, the 7 guiding principles to deliver value, understanding the VUCA challenges, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, right? And then applying sustainability strategies to it. And of course, what is the main focus on sustainability? And of course, sustainability is not cheap. What's the cost benefits analysis for sustainability? I know it sounds very good to have a data center under the sea, but to build one might be really expensive. To maintain it might be expensive as well. Yeah, but it's an interesting topic that that a lot of people have asked ITIL for. 2 other courses that will be introduced soon. One is business relationship management. This links very much to the BRM role, business relationship management role. Remember, one of the practices within ITIL4 is relationship management. They tell you that we need to build strong relationships. We need to establish and nurture links, but sometimes we don't tell you how this is done. Okay. Business relationship management is looking at not just the operational part of building relationship, but the strategic part as well. Yeah. Again, how do you create measurements to measure the strength of the relationship? How do you improve relationships? And of course, they want to use the ITIL maturity model to see at what level of maturity of the relationships throughout the whole end-to-end service management. right? So BRM is another one, yeah. Building relationship between consumers and providers, and of course, providers with other providers and things like that. The last extension course that ITIL has introduced is something called IT Asset Management. I personally am very passionate about this. In fact, one of the courses I used to do was based from an organization called the International Association of IT Asset Managers, ITAM, right? I used to teach that course, right? And I'm very passionate about IT asset management, and it's important. And I can understand why Excelos have introduced this, because managing IT assets within organizations is always a challenge. A lot of people, and I can tell you, throughout my consultancy and teaching career, I find that a lot of organizations still hasn't gotten this down correct. Right? Let me tell a funny story. I went to India to teach one of the courses, and I asked them, "Hey, do you do IT asset management?" "Oh, we do IT asset management." "Yeah, great, nice. So when you record all your IT assets?" "In my Excel file." "And what do you record?" "Oh, we only record all the hardware and the servers." "What about your software licensing?" I didn't know that was IT asset management. It's an IT asset, right? If you have managed software licensing before, you know how difficult it is, right? A physical asset is very simple. You buy the box, or you lease the box, you manage it, or you get the leaser, the lease company to manage it. But when it comes to software licensing, right? When you purchase a software license, you don't own the software. You own the right to use it, and if you're not careful, bye-bye. Yeah. How many of you have ever managed software license from IBM? See, she's like, is it your best experience ever? Never. Okay, IBM is just one of the pain, SAP. And the most evil of all evil companies, Oracle. Well, Larry Ellison still needs to pay for his board. So again, so that's why ITIL has come out with IT asset management to talk about how do I manage it, manage the cost of IT assets, manage the value, maximize the value of IT assets, and of course, don't get ourselves in trouble. Yeah, correct. Some people say, "Hey, very easy on me. I just buy the most expensive IT asset management tool." It's not, right? How many of you actually read the term and condition in your license? No, How many of you actually read the term of use? You don't. So that's a problem. That's why they are coming out with again a course to do that, right? And I think this is something that is going to be very important to a lot of organizations, right? Yeah. So you can see how passionate I am, because I see this to be the pain point, especially now when everything goes cloud, now when everything goes off-premise, where things are more accessible, right? Then now you have new headaches. Okay, so 4 extension modules that ITIL has introduced. So do look out for it, right? If you're interested outside the core. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Okay, thank you. All right, so coming back to the managing professional and strategic elite courses, that are the advanced courses that are available. After you finish your foundation, what are the options you have? Yeah. So the 2 designations have different focus. The managing professional is a stream of modules targeted more for IT practitioners in your BAU role as either operations or from a planning perspective, yeah, or from a strategic initiative, yeah, but more on BAU activities that you would do. Strategic leader is more from a leadership perspective because it talks about IT strategy. How do you align IT strategy with the changing digital requirements? And that's the focus. Because you can take in this particular scenario, most of us are from IT organizations where in IT, we are part of operations. We are only supporting the business. We are supporting the business. That means we provide services that the business then runs on a daily basis, whether it's a manufacturing organization, or whether you're a telco, or whether you're sales and so on. That's IT's role, even as a bank. Yeah, with IT is seen as a support role. But for a lot of organizations, they are transitioning to digital services where the service is a product by itself. Think about all your e-wallets, okay? Whether GrabPay or GrabCar or Touch and Go, they are digital services. They are products by itself. So the question comes in, if you are now a developer working on those products, that digital service, that e-wallet, are you IT or are you business? Do you represent IT or do you represent business? Yes, the answer is both. They have merged. They essentially have merged. IT has now merged with business. And that's why, as Sean said, IT asset management becomes more complicated because businesses don't have to come to IT anymore. They go, suppliers come straight to the business, tell the business, oh, we can do this for you. You just have to pay licenses and it's an OPEX cost, IT not involved. The only time IT involved is they get a request to open firewall port 23156 for them to access this particular server. And then IT will scream and shout, what's this? Right? So that's the merge that is happening. Okay? So even for fast-moving organizations, where is IT going? That's the question. So that becomes the strategic leader designation that we're going to look at now. Okay, individual courses. We start with create, deliver, and support. So in the create, deliver, and support, the purpose here is more focused on an operational perspective. If you're a part of operations and you have activities that look into the provisioning and support of services on a day-to-day basis, you're leading your operations teams, you're leading your support teams, this is the cost for you. Okay. It is also to look and understand the performance of our services. How do we manage, how do we support our services, especially doing transitions like moving inwards digital services and so on. Okay, so the target audience here is basically, to me, anybody, if you're involved in your day-to-day provisioning of products and services, this is the cost for you. Okay. Now, what you will understand, how to structure our teams, how to plan workload, okay? How do you keep team morale going? Because that's very important. Even ITIL states that you want to keep your customers happy, keep your employees happy first. Okay, happy employees, happy customers. So it's a fact. Yeah. Plus, it is in this course itself that we finally introduce to you what a value stream looks like. And I know this is a lot of Greek or foreign to you because in foundation we talked about value stream, but we never introduced it. So if you really want to understand what a value stream is, how is it created, what is it used for, how it is supported, you need to attend the CES course. Because this is where we introduce the value streams, specifically two value streams, value stream to create a service, and more important, a value stream to support a service. Okay, and we'll actually tell you the difference between why your value stream was actually required. Really? Why? Because of Agile and DevOps. Because we were so process-oriented. Process works well for us. But the moment you put Agile and DevOps, everything upside down already. And those guys will do everything on their own mind. Right? So there has to be some sort of control and standardization. And that's where, to gain that, we use value streams. That's basically the whole reason why ITIL had to be formed. Don't get me wrong, our processes are still very good. Okay? For central IT, managing your infrastructure, you still need to have processes in place. But when you go into Agile and DevOps, these guys are autonomous, they are independent, they can do whatever they want. Last thing they need is process. Okay, so to help standardize that, that's where the value stream comes in. Okay, so we've introduced the value stream. Right. Now, the next one is drive stakeholder value. Now, drive stakeholder value is this, focusing on customers' journey with us. And for a lot of organizations also, this is completely new, because we never map the customer's journey with us, especially when it doesn't matter whether it's internal customers or external customers. Okay, the driver for this is if you know your customer very well, what is the customer's perception of IT today? Think about it. I've run this exercise with all my clients. Basically, most of them, customers, it doesn't matter internal business you're supporting or external, don't have very good perception of IT because IT is always slow, IT is bureaucratic, IT is unreliable, too much security and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so why? Why does the customer see us that way? This is the cost you need to attend. Okay? Because it maps the entire journey of customers with us. So it's focused on two things: customer experience, user experience. Remember, our focus is customer satisfaction, user satisfaction. Just do whatever you need, can to keep them happy, to keep them satisfied. As to keep them loyal. If you have good customer satisfaction, you end up with loyal customers. Yeah. So the target for this would be practitioners involve interactions with your customers, users, or even your suppliers, team leads, middle management, service owners, product owners, relationship managers, because it's looking at the entire journey. And what they do, they break that journey into different phases. We break the journey into different phases because every customer we have, we go through that same phase. Doesn't matter internal or external. And you still go through you still need to explore what the customer wants. You still need to engage with them. You make an offer, you sign an agreement, you onboard or you offboard. Okay, you co-create, and at the end of the day, they need to see value in what they're doing. The greatest challenge we have with IT and customers is this: business never sees value in what IT is delivering. And that's the pain, because we work so hard. No, again, they still complain about us. Do satisfaction survey, the lowest score they can give you, they will give you. I thought you don't want to do it. You already know what the score is. Why they feel this? Why? Why are they facing that? Because we don't put ourselves in their shoes. We're always thinking from a technology perspective, but we really need to understand what customer outcomes really. What is it that they actually want? So this focus on that, ensuring that value is going to be delivered. So that's the DSV cost. Next, we have high velocity IT. Remember, I talked about the conversion between business and IT, and now they have come together specifically for transformation. What transformation? Digital transformation. And you probably have heard that word a lot being used. Oh, we are doing digital transformation. But what really is digital transformation? And this is where we go into detail what kind of transformation it's all about. Digital transformation means, as an organization, we have to achieve our strategy using technology. That's the transformation. That's a digital transformation. That means the strategy, the vision that we want to achieve as an organization cannot be achieved without technology. That's the concept behind it. That's why technology plays a very important role. So important that we acknowledge today, technology decisions are being made even at board level. Last time, no. If you need to make about which server to buy or which hardware to buy, CIO will make that decision, give to the board just approve the budget. But now, no. Because they recognize the importance of digital services. We are all moving towards digital services. The issue is this: if we don't, our competitors will. So how? You have to, right? So, speed. We all know customer wanting things yesterday one. Okay? So how do we provide that? And this is the cost that goes on. That's why we call it high velocity. High velocity. That means as an IT organization, we've got two things: speed plus direction. We know where we're going. We have to be fast, we have to be quick, and we need to know where we're going. So this course is more focused for people who work in digital or highly automated environments with digital services. because it's uncharted territory for us. We haven't done cloud services. We don't know what is DevOps. Okay, and when they try to merge these two and all together, maybe, okay, I use the word like kalang kabut, maybe suffer because it's new. So you even go into the culture that is going to be required to it, the culture change that is going to be required. That means the whole organization needs to transform. So when we use the word transform here, it is people change, not only technology change. The mindset has to change. Okay, because it's no more blame environment. You know what blame environment is? Okay, something goes wrong, we quickly point finger. Okay, in a high velocity IT organization, it cannot happen because it's like Star Trek like that. You're venturing out into the unknown, but we don't know what. So organization needs to change culturally to encourage experimentation and for people to fail safely. That means we're going to try. We don't know. We've never been there. It's okay. Fail fast, learn fast, and we move on. Okay? That mindset has to change. So this course talks about that. Yeah, what we can do. And we supported by the different tools and technology. Okay? That's HBIT. DPI, also equally important. To me, for everyone. Improvement. We have to improve. Okay? Again, unfortunately, as a consultant, I've worked with so many organizations before, in different organizations. It saddens me sometimes when I walk into a local Malaysian organization. No improvement. People like, no, don't do it. Okay? Why? Because there's always this fear. We know things are not efficient, things are not effective. But we are reluctant to speak out because if I talk about it, guess what? I have to do that. So don't keep quiet, keep quiet. Then there's so much inefficiencies that all of us become experts in how to navigate. But the inefficiencies be there. It doesn't go away, man. You just more and more. Cannot. Yeah. Whereas in a multinational that has been around for a long time, if you walk into it and you see the culture is continual improvement is there. People know they are inefficient and they're doing something about it. And that's the change that needs to take place. Very hard, but we have to establish a culture of continual improvement that as an organization, we basically can embrace. And this is the course that focuses on it. It should be everyone. If you have anyone who is working in the leadership role, especially, but it's also for everyone because it's about measuring and improving. Again, mindset. We don't like to be measured. Why? Because when we measure, if things go wrong, then we get the blame. But the change of mindset is, I measure, it's because if things go wrong, I analyze why it's went wrong, and we improve. So it's all about improving. It's not about, again, blame. It's not about pointing fingers and putting blame, but it gives an opportunity to analyze and improve. Because if you don't measure, you can't analyze. If you can't analyze, you can't improve. To analyze, if you don't measure, you can't improve. I've got nothing to improve. Yeah. So that's what this course for the DPI. So we also talk about GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, and equally important topic, especially with DevOps. Okay, nobody likes to be audited. Okay, we always have audit issues. So this course tells us, okay, we are transitioning into new ways of working. Okay, with Agile and DevOps. Like I said, these guys are they do whatever they want, but what about governance? What about audit concerns? Yeah, so here we address that. What can we do to help ensure that from an audit perspective, they still stay in line with what governance is? And this is where we also introduce what is governance, because for a lot of people, I find they have no idea what governance is. It's all about setting the objective, ensuring the direction that the board of directors have set is achieved. That's what governance is. And this course introduces you to that. Last one is the digital and IT strategy. So like I mentioned, in line with also sustainability goals, we talk about IT strategy, and the disruptors that can impact us as an organization, external factors. And we just experienced that 3 years ago with the pandemic. Suddenly, when the pandemic struck, every organization who had business plans and strategy for 2020, 2021 had to throw it out the door. It's not going to work. They had to change. So IT, we also need to be fast. How can we re-strategize ourselves to the changing business needs? Okay. For a lot of us, working from home was never an option. But suddenly when the pandemic struck, hey, please work from home. No, I want. You said the policy was not cannot work from home. But now we suddenly ask us to work from home. Yeah. So that has changed. So there are a lot of disruptors that can impact us. Again, economic factors, environmental factors, legislative factors, social factors, technology factors, even. Okay? Technology factors is the worst because we think we are good, but our competitors could be better. And that's always a challenge for us. So this course focuses on, from a strategic perspective, as an IT leader, it's very much from a leadership perspective, what we need to do to help you align IT with the changing business needs. Okay, now I just want to also highlight one more thing with this course that is different from all the other intermediate courses. This one, together with the extensions, you also have in-course assessment now. Okay, previous courses, only one exam at the end of the course. This one, there are 4 exercises that you must do during the course itself that you must pass. Otherwise, you cannot sit for the exam. Okay? So a little bit more challenging, but it makes it more interactive and more interesting because that tests your knowledge. Okay? Tests your knowledge. Now, I do have also one more recommendation. Do not sit this course if you have not done any other intermediates before. You will struggle. Okay, so do other intermediates first, even DPI, before you come for digital IT strategy. Otherwise, you will struggle. But that's the option for you. All right, so those are the intermediates that we have. If you are interested, you can speak to InfoTrack for more detail about those other courses that we have. Now, moving forward. So far we've talked about just ITIL, okay? And we've seen the change in what's happening in ITIL. And we do have to acknowledge that certification is becoming a lot more expensive. We acknowledge it now. I think you always can see that certification is becoming more expensive. Are there any other alternatives? The answer is yes. There are. Okay? These alternatives are actually in a way catching up. But they are looking at different perspectives. Because if you ask me, what is ITIL all about? Service management. That's it. It's all about how we manage our IT services. Yes, ITIL was the first when they first launched. And there are so much benefits which I still wish they had when the framework, ITIL framework, still belonged to the UK organization called OGC, Office of Governance Commerce. Why? Because at that time, everything was free. Government much. But, you know, they also don't want to manage it, they sold it, and ITIL is what it is today. Okay. So, are there any alternatives? Because ITIL is good. It focus on managing IT services, doing processes, but it has its drawbacks. You could have seen it if you have done version 2 of ITIL and then suddenly, or version 3 of ITIL and then suddenly move to ITIL 4 and then you suddenly get, what is all this? Very confusing. Because in foundation, we never talked about practices, we never talked about processes. Okay? They talk about value, they talk about co-creation, they talk about the 4 dimensions, they talk about value streams and so on, which is good because that's essentially what we're going to need to transition ourselves into Agile and DevOps and Lean and all that. but I only got 5 people in IT. How? Okay, so this is where we introduce other things. What are other IT service management options? Okay, first, I'm going to introduce something called FitSM. Okay, Fit Service Management, so to speak. Just introduce what it is. So we call this a lightweight IT service management, suitable for organizations of any type and scale. It doesn't matter your size. So we're saying this is suitable if you have 5 people, or you have 50 people, or you have 500 people. It doesn't matter. Okay, but it is applicable for you. Main design principle is keep it simple, which is one of the guiding principles we also have. Keep it simple. So they follow that guiding principle. Keep it simple. And most important, it is under Creative Commons license, meaning open source. ITIL is everything you have to pay one. You want a book also you have to pay. Okay, course also pay, like exam also pay. So, okay, so open source. Yeah. All right. So what is FitSM? Okay. Key principles on how to manage our IT services. We know we have to manage IT services. Okay, whether it's payroll service, payment services, SAP services, and so on. As an IT organization, we have to manage it. There must be some sort of structured way to do it. Okay, we cannot do without it. It has to be done. Yeah. So the key principles here is practicality, consistency, sufficiency, extendability. Yeah. Foundation is service and customer orientation, which is key. We never move that up because it's always focused on customer. Process orientation, we're still working on processes, doesn't go away, it's still there. And continual improvement, we've seen continuous. So if you look at it, it's the building blocks of what you need to have, the foundation. You cannot run any kind of service management you do. These 3 things is always there. Service focus, yeah, process based, and continually improve. And you just repeat that, and that's it. So what is practicality? We want something simple, provide guidance instead of drowning in theoretical best practice. Okay, just reading your ITIL Foundation book can stay awake enough. Chances are she'll fall asleep, aren't they? Too much. It's just too much information. Okay, consistency, repeatable performance. Yeah, it's consistent. It is sufficient. It's good enough for me to do what I need on my day-to-day operations. And I can extend it. I can leverage the best. I can still grow it if I need to. And that's the key principles behind what FitSM is. Okay. So what does FitSM consist of? Now, if you see all these signs, don't be taken back a bit. We have to put it there because it's common license. It's open source. Okay. It's European based. So that means anybody can copy it and use it for your own. So it's open source. You can actually Google it, you will find it. Yeah. So these are the components that FitSM has. We start with 0, which is the overview of what it has, the vocabulary associated. What's an incident? What's a problem? What's a change? Not too far from what ITIL's description is. Now, the core component is the requirements. Okay? Now, the good thing about FitSM is this. It was developed because people found ITIL too complicated. Don't understand. So they wanted something simple. And they aligned FitSM with ISO 20000. I think some of you could be familiar with it. ISO 20000 is the standard, de facto standard for service management. It's not ITIL, okay? It's for service management, for managing of services. It's the standard for management of services. So FitSM is very much aligned to ISO in terms of components that have been created. So the main component is our requirements. What essentially you need to have in order to perform service management successfully in your own organization. Okay, and then below it, the description of all the processes, okay, that we have and the role model. There are 15 processes, I believe. And the roles and responsibilities. Now, the other advantage, implementation aids. If you've never done service management before, don't worry. They got templates and guides for you. Samples all provided, process guides, roles, policies is there. With implementation guides, with maturity and capability, how you assess to see how efficient and effective. So everything that ITIL is talking about, they also have it, but in a very simplified manner. You don't have to hunt for it through all the ITIL books. It's there, it's available. Okay. So in terms of certification, they also have certification. And these are the levels. Foundation, I think it's two days. 2 days, yeah. 2 days of foundation training. And then you have the advanced level. And you will see later the advanced level are basically broken into 2 groups: service planning and delivery, service operation and control. Okay, where we split the processes accordingly. And we have the expert level. Okay, expert training and service management. I'll go into detail about each one of them. But there are 3 levels basically: foundation, advanced, and expert. Mandatory prerequisite for advanced is foundation. Prerequisite for expert is advanced. Okay. There is a bridge, if you want, coming from either an ITIL expert or an ISO 20000 consultant or auditor. If you hold those certificates, you can do the bridge to get your expert level. That's all you need, because at that level, you already have, you know what a process is. Okay. What a process is. Okay. But that's the training that's available. Now, the focus then is on processes that are most relevant for us as an organization. Yeah. Because if you look at a suite of ITIL, 34 processes, that's a lot, no? How to implement all of it. But if you really go into details, how many processes of the ITIL framework you actually use today? Most common: problem, change, release, continuous improvement, yeah, service level management, incident. Those are the common ones. So if you look at this list, most of them are the common ones. In fact, what they say, out of all the processes, these are the most important. If you really want to do effective service management work, these are the processes are not practices, processes you need to have. Because very process oriented. So they've taken this and broken down into 2 parts: a plan and deliver. We have service portfolio, service level management. So that's the planning processes. More or less, if you're operations, then operation, configuration management, change, release, incident, service request, problem, and continuous improvement. So they've also broken them down. Remember, 2 advanced processes. Yeah, that's the focus of it. And one general management topic, because even though we have processes in place, but on top of that processes, you need management support. So there are some prerequisites if you want to do service management, and they are very clear what the prerequisites is. Because you can say whatever you want at operational level. If management is not there to support you, it's not going to work. Okay? So from a management perspective, most important, top management support. You have to have documentation. You have to have scope of what you want to cover. You have to plan it. You have to implement it. You have to monitor it. And of course, you have to improve it. So that's where your PDCA, plan, do, check, act cycle comes in. But it's the easiest form of improvement, if you ask me. PDCA, plan, do, check, act, and we continue. The issue with all of us is we plan, we implement, stop. It's not a project. Okay? Service management, you review, you improve, and you repeat that. So it becomes a repeat cycle, and it's the easiest way of continual improvement. All right, so in summary, simplicity, lightweight, flexible, customizable to your own landscape itself, because you can do whatever you want. It's just what we have provided for you. Yeah. Cost effective, that's the most important one, because if you see the pricing, I think on the sheet there, it is so much cheaper than an ITIL foundation cost. Okay, so that's also a consideration for you. Renewal, no such thing, at least for now. Hopefully they keep it as common, open source, something you don't have to do, but yeah. And alignment with ISO 20000, very closely aligned to ISO 20000. If you're an organization moving towards certification and you want to be up there with global standard, this would be the framework that would be suitable for you. Because it's closely aligned to ISO 20000. That means if you implement the processes here, chances are you are ready to be certified. And you can call Cyril to come in and audit you. And because all your requirements for the standard would have been met. That's it. That's all you need to do. Forget about ITIL framework. If it's too much, okay. So what do the courses have? Foundation. We give you a basic understanding of what service management is. So take it that fresh grad, first time join, employee, we actually tell you what service is. We actually tell you what a process is. Something you never do in ITIL Foundation. But we do it every day, what a process is. So we tell you what a process is. And we start introducing all the key 15 processes. Incident, problem, change, which people can relate to. Because it's what you do on a day-to-day basis. So that's the foundation life. Now, advanced courses, depending on whether you're doing the control or the operation one, we'll then go into detail about each individual process in detail. So we look at process inputs, process outputs, process activities, roles, and responsibilities. Again, very relevant for us because that's the core. Everything we do in the organization is based on this core. And that's what FitSM does. Forget about value streams, forget about 4 dimensions, just go back to the basic. And that's your basic. Okay, process basics. So we look at incident, problem, change, config. Okay. Similarly for planning, then look at the planning processes. And for a lot of us, SLM is very important now. So is management and reporting. We do ability, we do continuity, we do capacity, we do security, and manage relationships. So if you look at it, all these is basic building blocks when you do service management of what you need to have. That's it. Don't go beyond it. Because for a lot of local organizations, we don't have the time, we don't have the resources, we don't have the people, we don't have the budget. So no need. Just start with what you require, what makes sense for your organization. And that's your focus on. The last one, the expert. Expert looks at something beyond because they look at alignment with other frameworks, alignment with COVID, alignment with ISO 20000, alignment with ITIL, and so on and so forth. At expert level, you may have other frameworks running. How do you align yourself with that? And that's even quite a challenge for us. Okay, for example, even though you are doing ITIL, governance, you still need alignment. Otherwise, your auditors will come after you. But what is governance? So you need to know what COVID is. COVID is the framework for governance. Yeah. So you need to know what COVID is. Otherwise, I don't know what to align. Because what happens when I do consulting with my clients, they always come and say, how did the auditors ask for this one? Where did they pick? For out of the sky, suddenly ask, can I have this report? We never do this report before. How come auditors asking for it? Why? Because COVID said you have to have it. It's there. You don't just pick up from the sky. It's already informed to them. So we need to know how to align them. And that's where the expert comes in. So these are the 4 courses available for FitSM. It's known as FitSM. Right. One more USM, but I'll let Sean introduce this.
Okay, we talked about ITIL. Confusing, a lot of stuff, right? And then we said that, well, not every organization can use ITIL. Sometimes it's just too complicated. Sometimes it's just too complex. Because if your organization, like Kevin says, 5 people, right? Yeah, you can use certain parts of ITIL and you don't use the rest. Sometimes then you have to pay a lot of money to do that. Okay, and then Kevin introduced something called FitSM, which focus on the core. Okay, what if I want to make it even simpler. Yeah. What if we are not just focusing on IT, we want to even use the processes in our HR, in our finance, in IT, in marketing, everything. Is there a management process or management practice that allows us to use the same processes in IT, in marketing, in finance, in HR? This is where we want to talk about USM, Unified Service Management. This is even much more simpler than FitSM. Yeah. In fact, in USM, there are only 5 processes. Wow, going lower. And in USM, within the 5 processes, there are only 8 workflows, right? 8 things that you do, and you can apply it in HR, marketing, finance, and things like that, and have the same result like how you manage your IT services. And the good thing about USM as well, you don't even have to design your workflows. Everything is already designed for you. You just use it and just change it a bit, right? Because sometimes even a smaller organization, let's just say an organization, the IT person is not even a department, it's 2 persons IT. And then HR says, hey, IT can manage the service correctly. I want to use the same process and same activities, can I? So USM does that, right? So USM stands for Unified Service Management. It is a comprehensive approach to IT service management that goes beyond ITIL, right? Of course, it adopts the thinking of COVID in terms of governance, same as FitSM adopts ISO 20000, and of course, the thinking of DevOps, right? So USM helps you gain control of the services. In fact, USM is what we call an ESMS, Enterprise Service Management System, that you don't only use for IT, you can expand it to use for other parts of the organization. USM was created by an organization based out of the Netherlands called the Service Foundation, right? And of course, it's a method-based approach for service management. That's why this method can be used across different services and different parts of the organization as well. Focus primarily on process, technology, services, and people. Okay, so what makes USM unique? So USM provides a method or a standardized method on how to manage your service. That's why you don't even have to come up with value streams. You don't have to come up with defining a process. The process is given to you. You just have to take it, change certain things, and can jalan ini. Yeah, it is not process focus. It is principle focus. Principle focus means it takes in the idea of customer value, making sure customer gets the best of the services, takes in the principles of carrying out things in routine, right? Routine is important. Something called routine habits, right? That people don't have to change their habits or introduce new habits. They have followed one standard habit across the organization, and everyone does the same thing. Kind of like robots, but sometimes that's what we need in service management. We don't want the complexity. Complexity is good when your organization is large, but for small organizations or when you're starting out in service management, sometimes these kind of habits, these kind of routines are great, right? And of course, USM is very easy to learn because again, like I said, you don't have to learn the process and then figure out how to develop it. It's so easy to learn because they tell you what the 5 processes are and what are the 8 workflows. Right? Oh, for this process, you do this. If this process linked to this process, you do this. Right? In fact, I remember when Kevin and I was looking at USM, attending USM, all we needed to do is remember colors. Oh, from blue, go to yellow, go back to blue, go back to green. Oh, that's the process. Oh, okay. Remember the colors. Yeah. So again, USM always starts out with the customer. Who are the customer? And within the customer, who are the users? Remember, customers are the one that define what service they want. Users are the one that uses it. So we need to first understand the customer, understand what is the demand that the customer is looking for, right? Customer demand. And then from the customer demand, the service provider will carry out 5 processes, 8 routines or 8 workflows, have the people and the technology in place to then deliver the services in terms of facility and support. Facility basically is goods that the user can use or actions we do for them. And the support is the supporting structure to allow that the facility is delivered correctly. Right? So it is very simple in nature. Right? So if you look at the service provider, it's just 5 processes, the people in place, and the routines of 8 routines, and then technology. And again, you can apply these routines, these processes, not only in IT, but across. You can do it in HR, finance, just tweak it. And sometimes this can be good because if everything is standardized across the organization, if the method is standardized, IT understands what HR is doing, HR understands what marketing is doing, everything is easier to link. Yeah? So how does it work? So USM have 5 processes. And the 5 processes are agree, change, recover, operate, improve. Plan, do, check, act. Right? Agree in terms of agreeing what service to be delivered, right? Agreeing the levels of service, right? Managing agreements, contracts, and stuff like that. Change is to manage changes in terms of services, right? Recover is to recover from service failure, incident management, problem management. Operate is to do day-to-day practical operations, and improve is to manage risks, where we look at new risks in services, both threats and opportunity, and how do we manage them and improve. So 5 processes. Now also you can remember, you don't remember all the 24 practices of ITIL: agree, change, recover, operate, improve. And within the 5 processes, there are only 8 workflows. That's it. Okay? Agree, change, recover, operate, improve. So you have 5 workflows where agree, you accept a wish, classify, specify service, draft offer, negotiate, realize, that leads to change, that leads to incident will help manage this. And this is basically what you do. And all these things are fixed. Right? So HR wants to do good service management within HR. Follow this 8 workflows. Right? So the 8 workflows are changes to agreements, changes to manage resources, incidents, very common, right? Incidents with changes to manage resources, incidents without changes, operation, risks with changes to manage resources, risks that can be solved by operations activity and things like that. Yeah. So now you have options, right? And imagine we do all 3: ITIL, USM, FitSM. And we do this because, like I said, like Kevin said earlier on, imagine we are not just doing certification for the sake of certification. We see as an organization how you are transforming, how you're delivering service. We can then recommend, oh, you want to do ITIL? Can. You want to do FitSM? You're a smaller organization, you want to do service management, but less complication? We can do that. Again, if you want to apply service management in a small organization across the entire enterprise, sure, we can do USM. Right? That's why this is not just how do I move forward in mastering ITIL 4 in just moving to do the courses. We are also introducing alternatives that you can consider. And FitSM and USM is globally recognized. Right? In fact, just last month, USM is being adopted by IT Service Management Foundation, or ITSMF, in US. They are starting to roll this out already because they see, hey, yes, well, IT has been with ITSMF for a long time, but ITSMF do also realize that, well, not all organizations can use this. So FitSM and USM is being rolled out as part of an alternative for different types of organization. Okay. So certification. Okay, I know it looks complicated. Okay, I know it looks complicated, but the actual fact, there's only 2 certificates in USM. Even simpler. One is USM Foundation. This is where you learn everything about USM. And the USM Foundation is only, I think, 2 days of certification plus an exam, right? Of course, if you want to be a USM coach or implementer or trainer, then you take the USM Professional. Okay? Of course, from the professional, you can then focus on the trainer, coach, tool auditor, or project expert. Up to you. But again, in general, you only have foundation and one professional. This one is very unique because USM is being launched as a public education in universities as well and in schools. Because again, one of the things that's missing in our colleges and our universities, right, is service management. How often do you hear in your local college that they do ITIL? They don't. And when students come out from college, they have no clue about service management. They know the technology, they know the programming, but they never understood the value of service. So USM now is being run in universities and vocational schools as well. Of course, not in Malaysia, right? In the Netherlands and in Belgium, they are rolling that out as well. So because this is very simple to understand, it gives you the whole general idea of what a service is, what service management is, and how to do it, right? So again, don't look at the school. For us, if you want to do USM, there is the foundation certificate. Again, for USM users, if you want to be a coach as well, foundation is a prerequisite. So for coaches, for trainers, right? Basically, the key things you learn is how to measure maturity in terms of value creation. How is USM related to traditional frameworks like ITIL, right? Again, what is basic service delivery? What is customer value? Help you understand the 5 processes and the 8 workflows. And then, of course, very importantly, even in foundations, they already talk about deploying. How would you deploy USM in your organization? Because for USM, the expectation is once you're done the foundation, you should be able to go back to your company to implement this already. The 5 processes and the 8 workflows. Of course, like I said, if you want to become a product expert, coaches and trainer from foundation, then you can do the professional certification. Of course, professional certification requires you to do an assessment with the people in USM to see if you're capable enough or not. If you've done your ITIL foundation, right now you've done your ITIL foundation, you want to take something new, you don't go on with your ITIL, next level, you can take USM. That gives you an alternative to look at, hey, how do I do this? Okay, quite exciting, right? So like I said, for us in Mind Managing, our focus is not purely, hey, do ITIL, right? ITIL is still very important, right? Because again, some of you have done ITIL, you want to keep the points, you want to grow your knowledge, it's still very important. I will not discount that. But again, if you come from a small organization and you want to do service management, there's always an alternative like FitSM that we do and USM as well. Okay? Okay.
Do this again.
Yeah.
Right. So what are the benefits of certification? I think it's open. It's a really open discussion. Yeah, because you are looking at what's next for you. That's your idea now. In a sense that now you know in terms of ITIL certifications, there's going to be renewal that's going to be required. Yeah, but let's think about attending a course itself, whether it's foundation or FitSM or USM or advanced courses. What are the benefits? Number one, it is for yourself. It is to increase and improve your own competency in that particular area. And if you look at ITIL, which is a very wide scoped framework, you're going into digital transformation, you're going into high velocity IT, you're going into strategy. That's the options that they have given to you. If you want to learn everything. So it's your own competency that is actually being built. Yeah. Number two, you provide value to the organization. Okay, because for a lot of us, that's why we are being sent for training. Why do the organization send us for training? Is because They want us to be able to operate in a way and to understand what service management is all about so that we can bring value back to the organization and to the customers itself. So that's why organizations see certification is important, training is important for you to gain that knowledge, and they will set you for it. So it's bringing value back to the organization. Third, to deliver that holistic perspective, because you get a better idea again of everything that needs to be put in place. And then just by attending to today's course, you suddenly realize that, okay, ITIL is very wide. Okay, and there's so many options that we can do, so many different focus. But at the same time, now there are alternatives. You don't have to do ITIL and IT service management. There's FitSM that focus only on 15 processes, or even simpler, you have USM that only have 5 processes. So, you know, it gives you that holistic perspective. Oh, okay, actually there's so many other things out there. Third, better job opportunities. I have to admit, it's still true. Okay, because for a lot of organizations, and if you just attend foundations here, but just by the number of people attending foundation, that gives us a confirmation that organizations are implementing service management. So if you are certified in ITIL and you will attend a job interview, at least you know you are going to be shortlisted. From that perspective, you would stand out against someone who has not attended ITIL training before. And lastly, be part of a globally recognized practitioner. They are all globally recognized certificates. Okay, whether you, even though you set the exam here in Malaysia, but it's still valid wherever it is. Yeah, you're part of the practitioners who have done the certification before. Yeah, so you have to see that. Is there benefit? Yes, there is. I think there is.
And ITIL, yep, ITIL, even though it's popular, it's still very well recognized. You also need to consider the application and the understanding of service management as a whole, right? I think beginning last year, I think Google and Apple primarily, they says that they don't only hire people, they used to hire people when they have degrees and masters and certification, but Google and Apple have both announced that they are looking beyond that. They're looking beyond just purely ITIL certification or purely some sort of college degree. They are looking at the ability for you to understand service management and then apply application. So ITIL, yep, important. But again, taking things like FitSM and USM also allows for that. Because if you go for interview, they ask you, what's your understanding about service management? And you say, oh, based on my understanding from FitSM, service management like this, it still aligns to generate general ideas of processes and good service management. Yeah.
So it was one slide before this. Oh, considerations. Which one should you do? These are the foremost generic one. Basically, ask yourself, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of you want to be certified? Is there a purpose first? Okay. What is the purpose? Maybe purpose of the organization, a purpose for yourself. What do you want to accomplish? Is there a need to be certified? Some organizations, yes, because foundation gives you the building blocks, so that you're on the same line, same vocabulary with everybody. You understand what is an incident, you understand what's a problem, you understand what's the change. So there's a need. Look at the need. Third, what is your own ambition? Which areas of focus you think you are interested? And you've seen the scope of what ITIL can offer. And in terms of digital transformation to digital and IT strategy to continual improvement. So you have that option, or now even focus on specific practices where you could be process owners or practice practitioners or process managers. And I just want to do incident or problem change or request. That could be my focus. And lastly, cost.
Not costa, not coffee. It's cost.
Cost.
Yes.
Okay, that now that you know renewals are going to be required from ITIL, it's also a consideration for you. How much is it going to cost myself? How much is it going to cost the organization? Would the organization even look at renewals and options? Yeah. So first, there is still benefit in certification. There is still benefit in training. There is still benefit in knowledge gain. It's for you, because if you look at it, the world is transforming and it's transforming very fast. Okay. You've heard the terms agile, DevOps, Lean. How many of us are actually trained in that? Can I just see your hands? Okay. Now, anyone? No, but okay. But that's a transformation that's going. People are going that way, you know. People are doing Agile. Oh, we're doing Agile. Yeah, we're doing DevOps. What is it? We don't know what it is. And that's where the training becomes important. So certification is still important for us. Service management is what we do on a daily basis. It's a BAU activity for us, but we're not trained on it. So the training gives you the foundation, the building blocks about why we need to do service management in place. Why do we have to have processes in place? Yeah. Who takes role? What are the roles? Who is responsible for it? What is the whole objective that we are trying to do? It opens up your eyes, especially when I do governance courses. They suddenly realize now they know why auditors ask for what they ask and where, most important, where they get it from. So it's not like something they pick from the sky. It's already in the framework. Okay, so the value is there, but there are the considerations there. So we hope that by attending this session, you have now a wider view of what's available. Yeah.
On top of that, if you're interested in things like Lean, Agile, DevOps, we also do that, right? But our focus today, but our focus today is on service management. That's why we don't talk too much.
Yeah.
For example, we work with a company called Global Trust Association to deliver digital transformation, Lean. We also do Lean IT. We also do Agile Scrum, Agile Project Management, Agile Kanban, DevOps. So again, if these are the things that you want to learn as well, please reach out to InfoTrack, right? They can definitely help you with that, and then they can engage us to do that for you as well. Yeah.
So the opportunities are there. Really, it comes back to what's your need, what's your purpose, what value does it bring back to you? The most important is as yourself, you have to see value in it. Yeah.
Okay, Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Kevin, on the very fruitful presentation to us. So I hope that everyone can get some information about the ITIL certification, as well as some options that you have in hand. If let's say you're not really looking for certification at all, you're looking for knowledge as well. Okay, so basically on the virtual part, there's a few questions that we posted there. I will send it over here. The first one is related to ITIL practice manager training that just now you presented that. Okay, the question is, do they need to take the 3 bundle together to become ITIL practice manager or just one?
There are options to it. So what people have done is they have provided options. Okay, options in the sense that you can do one by itself, any one of them, the amount of the, I think there are 15 there. Yeah, single practice. There's an option for a single practice itself. That means I only want to do incident management. That's it. You can. It is 1 day with an exam. Okay. Or if you don't want, then combine. Because you have to look at it from a value perspective. If I do 1, that's fine. If I do 2, it's okay. But if I start doing 3, too expensive. Then you might as well do the combine.
So the question, to also add on to the question is, do I need to do all the practices to get practice manager? Yes.
To get practice manager.
To get practice manager, you have to do all the 3 bundles to get practice manager.
Yes. All the 15 individuals.
Correct.
Okay. So recap is you can choose either take individual one, but however, in order to get the ITIL practice manager title,
yes,
the bundle.
all three bundles. Okay, but again, we don't know the timeline, but I assume that you can do one, do maybe 15 months if you want to, right, to get a practice. But again, if you look at the bundle, it makes more sense because the bundle is 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. So basically 9 days plus 3 exams,
Instead
and then you get
15 days and 15 exams.
Instead of 15 days and 15 exams. So
yeah.
Okay, so that is the first question. Second question is related to FitSM and USM. The question is very simple. Which one better? And is there any assessment to help them identify?
I won't say, I always I'm always very careful to compare which is better. It all comes down to what do you want to achieve, right? If you want to be able to deliver and run processes as quickly as possible without having to think and organize and develop some of these activities or these process activities, then USM is better because they already give you 8 workflows, 5 processes. You just use it. If you want to have the ability to be flexible and to then because of your organization can be a bit complex, then you want to develop your own processes within FitSM, within your own organization, then FitSM would be better. So it's not compared, you can't compare it apple to apple. It always comes down to what you want to achieve. If you ask me, sometimes you ask me, oh, what do you wish is better, ITIL or FitSM? And again, the scope of what you're doing. If your organization is large, you have many departments and all these people are looking at digital transformation, to me, ITIL is much more, extensive, right? So depends. You have to look at what your, again, coming back to what's your purpose, what are your needs of the organization, and then decide which framework or method works for you. Anything there?
Yeah. How many questions do you have?
There's one.
One more. Okay. I can show you what I put together. Let me see if I can advance. If I can advance this. A quick comparison between FitSM and ITIL. And I've used a non-technology example. I want to book a flight from KL to Langkawi. Okay. ITIL as a framework will give me a holistic perspective. Everything I need to do to book a flight. I just want to book a flight from KL to Langkawi. Tell me which tool to use, what software to use, check out all, and then go into detail. Plus additional information about how to board and all that. Now, if I really want to book a flight, too much info. FitSM tells me, okay, you go and search, you put in your origin, you just fly and fly. That's the difference. Okay? What ITIL says, not wrong, they're good. There's a holistic perspective. What FitSM says. Plus, advance, ITIL will say, hey, hang on, map the journey, and then think about technology, think about your strategy. FitSM also got, but maybe not so detailed. They'll go a little bit more advanced with that. That's the difference between both of them. USM is very closely related to FitSM. Right? So if you want to do the ITIL way, because it's comprehensive. But is this overload for you? Large organizations, we can because we have the resources, we have the time, we have the money, we have the budget. Oh. But if only got 5 people, 10 people, it's not a book of flight.
Like in FitSM, right? In FitSM, how the book flight is booked also, FitSM can decide. But look at it as USM, this is also decided for you. So again, how, like for an organization who has totally no idea on service management, never done this before, USM might work for them. For an organization with some sort of service management, FitSM might work for them. Like Henry said, when an organization is going to strategy, going to holistic view, lovely. So it depends what you want to do.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the last question apparently is related to the promotion that we are running. Okay, just to share with you all, I also want to assist our client in terms of getting your ITIL certification to be renewed or active. Okay, so that's where in coming 3 months, basically that any enrollment that you come to us on ITIL related, we are offering up to 50% discount on the second enrollment. For example, Insing and Kevin come together. Insing might need to pay everything, but Kevin just need to pay half of it. So meaning in terms of the company, right, basically you're getting some discount on the second enrollment. So the question from the floor is basically that is these 2 persons have to join together? Yes, they have to join together. Okay, so you apply for ITIL Foundation because in fact today from the online section there is some new people coming in to know more about this particular framework. In fact, over here in our crowd here, right, there's also a person new on ITIL as well. So that's where that if let's say you're looking for ITIL Foundation training and exam, I would suggest come together with your colleagues or your friend, enroll together, then eventually you will get 50% discount on the second enrollment. Apply same to ITIL intermediate as well. Okay. However, for those that is looking for more on skill set, FitSM, USM, right? Basically that we are also giving some offer as well during this Ramadan promotion. So to encourage more people to get satisfied or get their certification to be active. Okay, so especially for those that obtain their ITIL certification before June 2020, because you only left about 3 months to get your ITIL cert to be reactivated, because I remember the presentation from the floor is before June 2020 is up to this year before 1st July, meaning 30th of June. Okay, so that's the reason why we are having this kind of promotion on that coming 3 months. Okay, so that is the question from the virtual side, but now open to the floor as well. Is there any things that you would like to know from the two expert speakers over here? Yeah. Any questions related to ITIL, not ITIL? We also
It's recognized.
It is not as, so again, if we're talking about the certification, it is not as recognized in Malaysia as ITIL. Even FitSM, right? Not a lot of people talk about it, right? Because all these things are primarily used in the what call that, the UK, right? And also in US, right? So it is slowly coming to Asia. So we in Mind Imagine is helping to grow it as well, because we don't simply just introduce a framework or method if we didn't see the value it is. So we are trying to also grow it because we see the value. We do understand in organizations like Malaysia, we have a lot of SMEs, small medium enterprises. They might not be able to do ITIL. So we recognize that's why we are also pushing for this. Hopefully through the push, then it will grow and then it will be more recognized. But if you are using USM or FitSM, if you're working in a international organization, they will recognize it. Yeah.
Okay, there's one more question from the virtual.
Yep.
Okay, it's not a bit funny, but I will try.
Yeah.
Okay, just now we're talking about ITIL certification. In 3 years, we have to take some ITIL related certification in order to renew it, right? The question is, can Prince 2 also recognize to renew it? Because it's wrong. Because
no, different suite.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, it's not ITIL. The exam, additional exam you take must come from the same suite. Suite means any ITIL. Prince 2 is the same. If you also have to renew your Prince 2 certificate, but it has to be from the Prince 2 suite
Right.
of
Which includes Prince 2 and Prince 2 Agile.
Yeah, but I believe they ask this question because they're aware that actually people cert and also Excelos is the one.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
different suite.
Okay, I'm sorry guys, it needs to be in the same suite.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so any other questions they want to ask us during these sessions about ITIL? Yes.
For the CDS modules, what are the modules that yes,
CTA.
because like you say in the practice manager, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about CDS?
The creator.
Practice manager. So the intermediates, right, are kind of unique. They are all a book by itself. Okay. Now, the thing about if you've done previous versions of ITIL, that means ITIL version 3. In ITIL version 3, you had 5 books based on the life cycle, if you're familiar, strategy, design, transition, and the processes were in each book. Now, the advanced courses, if you look, none of the books that they have published, the foundation, and the advanced courses, which are the 6, have any information about the practice in detail. None. The 34 practice guides, each one is individual, is only available buy subscription from Excelos. By subscription, that means you actually have to pay $122 to go into My Excelos, and in that account, you have the 34 practice guides. Each practice is one guide by itself. Okay. In CDS, we do not go into specific practices. We just go into practices that would assist in creation of a service and delivery and service. But it's very limited information. We don't talk about the process details. We just go into maybe key activities that the practices may have. I think there are about 7, 8, 16 practices that we will talk about, but high level again. High level only.
In that case, for my support role, is it better for me to go for the practice manager rather than the specialist?
I would see in your, depending on your role, if you are management leading the teams, you still should do CDS. Your CDS will introduce you how to lead the teams, how to work with them, how to manage workload, how you prioritize your incidents and so on, okay? And how to create value streams, which is a very good way of measuring the capability of your process also. Okay? But individually, if you're just doing operations, then the practice will be more relevant if you are process focused. Yes. Then you do the suite, the first monitor and resolve suite. Yes. From that perspective. Otherwise, if you just do CDS, you will still not have any information about the practice. And they don't make that available to you. It's only available through subscription. Now, the reason Excelos did that is because of this. They wanted control of the practices. Previously, in version 3, the processes were part of the book. So their argument is, if I improve the process, I have to republish the whole book. So now they tell you, you don't have to pay for the practice guide, okay? But you subscribe. So if Excelos make update to the practice guide from version 1 to version 1.5, you get access to it. That's their rationale of making the practices separate from the other books. Welcome. Okay.
Gentlemen,
Yes.
just now you see, right, we actually will now focus on the CDS, right? It seems like it stands out itself with the new diagram, the ITIL practice manager. So just for the 3 sub-module of the practice manager, it seems like it combines itself become a CDS, and which means that once it's entitled itself as a CDS, right, still there's another 3 modular certificate to go on to be quantified as the managing professionals, right? It looks like the CDS.
If you want to do management, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's complicated because this diagram is new. What I know until last month is to the basic one.
Yeah, which is the old diagram. So go back to the old diagram. Okay. This is the old diagram. This is the diagram you have. Yeah. So CDS is here. But it talks about the way we work, how we prioritize. Nothing about practices.
So just now there's a question there about the practice module. Then just now the last ask.
Which is the new module? This one.
You see, gentlemen, you see the diagram, right? The CS cross between 2 fields. So
Yes.
the things
There is a crossover in between these two, because in CDS, like I said, they mention practices, but not in detail. So you will also cover here, because the overlap is the practice success factor. What are the factors that considers your practice successful is discussed in CDS. It will also be discussed in this. So there's an overlap of information. In fact, there are all overlaps. DPI overlaps between both. Okay. Some of the information you discuss about value streams in CDS, you will also cover in DPI. So there's always going to be some overlap somewhere.
So if you look at this, I know what you're asking, because if you take strategic leader and you've already taken DPI in managing professional, you don't have to take this again, right? But here, you have to take this because the practices that they talk about, right, will go into the details, right? So you need to still take your CDS as an overall plus the practices.
Okay, and then gentlemen, I think we can guess that with one serious with the PM module altogether, I think one might able to be qualified as the IT master for that region. Because the diagnosis, is that the IT master got?
No, item master requires this.
This and that.
So this can only get this, and this.
Yeah, and then how about plus the CDS alone?
CDS, no, you still need this, needs this, and
Yeah,
this.
right.
Correct.
So if completion, let's say in this case, right, if the managing professional, one student complete all the module, no more additional exam to be a master? Or
No, for a student, if you complete this one, you still need to complete this and this to be a master.
All three,
You
all
only
three,
complete this one only.
all three.
Wow, that's simple, lor. All three.
yeah, because the diagram, just because there is other operator like Microsoft, right? They sometimes they sketch the diagram like that. So okay.
Because Microsoft is confused.
Thanks for the
Well, anyway, no, yes, to be an ideal masters, right? This is actually very important, because again, you need to be able to think like a business, right, on how to either be disruptive or be a disruptor or manage disruption through the application and the decisions of your service management. So you can't just do this, which is just purely activity based, purely operational based, and not do this and become a master. It doesn't make sense. Master means that you have knowledge across everything.
Everything.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. I think that's good enough for everyone of us here. Thank you.
Okay. If not, ask ChatGPT. By the way, don't ask ChatGPT about ITIL 4 because when you ask ChatGPT about ITIL 4, they still talk about ITIL 3. More confused. Yeah.
Okay, there's one more question from the virtual side. Basically, they're asking about ITIL Foundation certification they are offering. Yes, the ITIL Foundation certification they are offering, it comes with second attempt exam without additional charges. But only on ITIL Foundation. If let's say you're looking for higher levels, right, we can do something for you, but it need to be an off-track request from your side. So the ITIL Foundation that basically that we are offering right now is a 3-day program with the exams, and as mentioned is 2 attempts. If let's say that you is not successful on the first time, you got another attempt without additional cost. And more important that even we are getting the student to be ready even they go for the first time, because we are giving them a mock exam preparation, where that mock exam basically is by initiative by My Managing Initiative. So you just want to get the higher passing rate, but yet again, it's on foundation. For others, what we can arrange for you, but just give me a call. I will see what I can do for you. But obviously, I'm not going to charge you additional 1 more exam. No, that is defeat the purpose. Maybe we'll try to arrange something for you. Maybe you commit account, I commit the free exam for you, something like that. Okay. That is the last question from the online. So any other from the floor?
Okay, just to add, right, if you do take ITIL Foundations through InfoTrack and Mind Managing, so normally ITIL Foundations, it will give you 2 sample papers, right? That's standard. So we have created 2 extra sample papers. So altogether, you basically have 160 practice questions before you actually take the exam. Right? That's amazing. Right?
The exam can take anytime. It's not like within 3 days you have to take it.
No, there is a validity for the exam voucher, but you don't have to take it straight after 3 days. You can chill, take it next week, but don't chill too long. Right? Yeah.